Okay, where are you from?
From Toronto.
Certain part you represent?
I'm in Brampton right now.
Now, that's still considered Toronto, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so you currently still reside in Toronto.
Yeah.
Now, growing up, what was that like for you? Paint that picture for us, growing up in Toronto.
Growing up was good, you know. I have 4 brothers. 3 of them came from Jamaica. And it was a good life. Like, we used to live in Toronto, and then my parents moved us out to give us a better life when I got older, when I was about 6. So
I see.
it's definitely it was hard growing up, in terms of having so much siblings, because equal attention and all that stuff like that. But it was good. It was still good.
Where do you fit on that ladder of siblings? Towards the oldest, towards the youngest, in the middle?
I'm the youngest male, but my sister's the youngest.
I see.
Yeah.
So what are some pros or cons about being in that moment of the ladder, right? The youngest of the males. What are some advantages or disadvantages?
You didn't get as much attention because your parents got to focus on everyone. So it's when 5 of us are living in one house, we all got to share certain type of things, shower time, you know what I mean? So it was different. It was definitely different. Made you kind of you learn a lot because I have older brothers, so I learned a lot from my older brothers growing up. So I was always more mature than others because I always knew, I was already ahead of the game based off what they told me because they're all older than me.
I see. Now, you said you had it hard growing up. Parents moved you at a certain age for a better life.
Mm-hmm.
What was the sleeping arrangements like with 5 siblings? All together.
They came, thing about my siblings, the 3 of them came from Jamaica, when I was older. So growing up, it was me, my sister, and my brother. And then when we moved, that's when my brothers came down one by one from Jamaica. So it was decent. It wasn't hard to say, but it was definitely you had to grow up faster.
So you moved,
yeah.
Then they come, so you had more space for them when they came.
Yeah. So they came up one by one. So it was good, definitely. It was just a different experience because I'm from Toronto, they're from Canada, they're from Jamaica, sorry. So they have to come here and adapt to the culture and the way we do things. So it was different. I got to see a different side of the culture that my parents are from. So I got to understand more when they came through.
When it came to growing up, and it did get hard, certain ages for you, what was the bottom point?
Can you break that down?
In life, there's ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
What was the worst moment for you growing up? We'll talk about a high moment after, but let's start with the worst. What was the bottom point?
I would have to say when my parents split, that kind of messed me up for a while. Because I had to choose between living with my dad and my mom. I knew if I lived with my dad, I would have more freedom, but I'd probably get in more trouble. But I knew if I lived with my mom, she'll give me that structure because she's always there, she's always home. You know what I mean? So that was probably the hardest part for me. Choosing who to live with.
And they let you choose that?
Yeah, I got a phone call the same day. They both called me who do you want to live with? And they're showing me the pros and cons. These are going to be the rules. So I had to choose between my mom and my dad same day. They both called me back to back because they decided they're not going to be together no more. So that was that. And I chose to live with my mom.
What age was that when that happened?
I was still in elementary school, so I would say 13.
Now, you move, okay, you had it rough in the beginning, you had it hard in the beginning. Then you move at about 6 years old to a better place, right?
Yeah.
And the brothers start coming one by one.
Mm-hmm.
But at 13, you have to make this decision.
Yeah.
How do you make that decision? How does a kid make a decision on what in one day? It took you you had to make the decision?
Yeah, same hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you make that decision at 13 years old?
I had to think about what was gonna be better for me. So like, I had to say, okay, how do I want to end up? Like, what's the end result? Do I want to be successful? Cause like around that time, I was getting into trouble all the time. So like, I knew like living with my mom, she'll be on me, on my ass. You see what I'm saying? So I knew that my dad he was around, like, you know, all the time, but it'll be me living with him, but he wouldn't be home all the time. Like, he would have to go to work, certain things. Like, my mom would make sure like everything's gonna be on point, on time, and she's hard on me. So I knew I had to choose her at that point in time.
That's a very responsible decision.
Yeah.
Because there's kids probably watching this right now that would say, I would have taken the easy way.
Mm-hmm.
Live with dad, it's freedom.
Mm-hmm.
We can have some, well, yeah, of course we'll get into trouble, but it'll be more fun.
Yeah. Definitely.
I don't think somebody at 13, most kids I don't think would want to be in a living environment where somebody's going to be more strict or more, you know, because I think when kids grow up, the older they get, the less restriction they want, the less rules, the less regulations.
Yeah.
So
he was strict, but it's just that he wasn't like, he probably wouldn't be around as much as my mom. So I'm saying, like, my mom would always be home right after work. Like, for my dad, he'll give us probably that freedom, like, okay, go to your friend's house, like, you know what I mean? So I had to make the decision to be with my mom in terms of like grooming me, like making sure, like, cause like I'm stubborn, like I like to do things my way, but like she always makes sure she gives me the proper structure.
Now, was one more well off than the other as far as financially?
They're decent, but I would say my mom was more like better off. She worked at the bank. My dad sold cars, so like her job was more consistent. You know, so it was like a salary job. When you're selling cars, it's commission. So like, yeah, I would say my mom.
Did that play into the decision making at all back then at 13?
No, because like they made sure like we were good. Like money wasn't the issue. Like we never had it hard in terms of food and like certain things. So like, it's just that it never played a role. Definitely didn't.
Now, okay, they give you this call, they tell you the pros and the cons, then you have to figure it out. Do you do this all in your head? Are you writing this stuff down and kind of making a better decision there? Are you letting anybody else in your family know? Maybe other siblings, like, I got to make this decision. Can you help me out? Or this was just a self decision you made?
It was a self decision. Like, I think I was in elementary school at the time. I was telling my friends like, yo, I got to make a decision. Like, I had friends on the other side where we moved to, and like like where I grew up was where my dad and mom lived, but where my mom wanted to move to was on the other side. So I was like, okay, I got more friends over here. I'm more comfortable over here. Over there, like I know a few people. Like, you know, I would have to change the whole environment. So like, it was hard for me to move over there because once I moved over there, I had to bus to school. Like, I would just walk to school. So I was busing once I moved over there. So I was like, damn, you know what I mean?
And now you're a new kid. Now actually, when you move, you become well, yeah, you're the new kid. But I was going to say, I'm not going to use the analogy I was going to say, but you become the new kid.
Yeah.
And we hear good stories when somebody becomes a new kid, and we also hear horror stories when somebody becomes a new kid.
Facts.
There's movies about stuff like this.
Facts.
New kid getting picked on and harassed and bullied and teased.
Yeah.
And then there's some new kids that, hey, they're the cool kid, they become popular, they move up the chain.
Mm-hmm.
How did it work for you?
Well, it was cool. Like everything was straight when I moved over there. Like I had friends, got friends quick. It was cool.
And what grade was this again?
This was like grade 8.
Okay.
So like right before I went to high school.
Okay, so becoming a new kid, let's say somebody's watching this, they have to become a new kid too. Any advice? I mean, obviously circumstances could be different for everybody, but do you have any advice for somebody that has to be the new kid in a school that, you know, a new environment, a new part of town?
You would have to just, like, you would have to adapt quickly, you know, so you would have to, like, try and be more social, try and figure out, like, okay, who am I going to be hanging with, what's going to be going on, so you just got to be aware of everything, aware of your surroundings, and, like, kind of understand people, be very observant.
Now, if we talked about the bottom point already for you, and obviously it was that decision you had to make. And by the way, before I actually ask you this next question here in my line of notes, hindsight 2020, did you make the right decision?
I did.
No regrets on that decision making?
No regrets. Like, you know, I put my mom through a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, I still got that love, that support. She was always there for me. So I don't ever regret that decision. I had to be a man quicker. Like, I had to be the man of the house and, like, do certain things I didn't want to do. Like, when it snowed, like, I didn't have to shovel and do all that extra stuff. My dad would do that, but when we moved, I had to do certain responsibilities and step it up, so I kind of grew up faster.
Now, your biological dad, he still remains in your life even though you're not living with him after that point?
Yeah, he was still in my life. I wouldn't see him every day, but he was still in my life.
Would there be times where you would go visit him and stay with him? Or you were really just living with your mom at that point? He was just in your life?
I rarely stayed at his house.
Okay.
Like, I was always at my house. Like, I rarely stayed at his house. Maybe a few times, but, like, barely.
At this point, when you make this decision to live with your mom, who were the siblings living with you at that point, and mom?
Just my sister. Me, my mom, my sister. And at a point in time, my brother, one of my brothers, moved in with us for like a couple months, and then he went back on his own. But, like, yeah, me, my mom, my sister, for the most part.